Hello everyone. Hope you are doing well. It is a lovely Thursday. It's 8 o'clock, so I'm about a half hour late, but for good reason. Mainly that I was hanging out with a friend who I haven't seen in like 5 or 6 years at this point, and catching up with him. Whoa. Hey, look, the background changed. The background wasn't always... It wasn't always this, right? The Natsume cell. Does it change per mystery? Have I just not realized? Huh. Alright then. Cool. Well, let's continue. That's really neat. Huh. Anyway, hope you're all doing well and having a good Thursday. We're going to get going with the trial and hopefully have a pleasant defense without too many mysteries. I don't have high hopes though. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here so soon? If only I could speak. Sorry. We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal processes. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning! I don't know who's coming at us. Oh, it's Natsume. Ah, Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Oh dear. Are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. Oh, and now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor. I can't do this. Can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes. I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Miss Usado? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Von Ziek's? Is that right, Miss Usado? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Von Ziek's is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He has stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Von Ziek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus McGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back at the Bailey so soon, for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they're all speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but, that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive! Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this, I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mikoto Esquires. That is hard to say. That is mildly difficult. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget that. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. Alright then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go. Yes! I know that he's supposed to have like heavy British accent and all that. Or sorry, not British, Japanese accent. I don't think I can do one. I mean, I don't think I can do a British one particularly well, but Japanese accented English is probably not something that comes to mind quickly for me. Because really, it's just like Japanglish comes to my brain when I think about like JoJo talk, so that probably won't work for this. My second appearance in a British courtroom, and my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. Do. The Old Bailey courtroom. Ooh, I wonder who we have on the jury today. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted in his unfortunate, violent end. Wow, Van Zieks is kind of a dick, isn't he? Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in a fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Are you ready to carry out your duties here in court, as impartial members of the public? You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Is that our friend from the last trial? Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possibly that Mustache Foreigner did the deed. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. Eh, sorry, didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Von Zieks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime. I tell you from bitter experience, there's a little worse. Bloody oath they are. Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, 1, 2, 3. Eh? Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. That's gonna be Gregson, I assume. Kind of like how, yeah, just like Gumshoe. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s. Oh, sorry, wrong voice. The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s, by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be. Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. Happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. Had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared. She's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file, everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. What of the weapon that was used? Sat. I have that here. If it was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anyone would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scraggled-looking Soseki son, I suppose. A common or guarded jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. A jackknife, huh? Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell looking at the woman's possession, seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Nastume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If theft and grievance had been ruled out as a motive, what reason could Mr. Nastume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and handy-headed way.
Objection!
What, Ben Zeeks? What was that? What? Dude. Okay. Oh, that was the best. That's the best thing he's done yet, besides putting his foot onto the mantle. Good lord. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. Oh, into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. Oh, it's formal time. That means we get to cross-examine it. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was unusually light fog. The visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed to the pavement. Did he say it was good weather? Unusually light fog. Interesting. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It's just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes. I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Wow. Wow. Van Zeeks, my very British friend. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, forgive me, Lord Von Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed under the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. Green overcoat. Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my. A photographic print in full color. What would the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them. The victim and the accused. In other words, there's nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. Had to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Oh, it's a pretty short one, huh? I'm going to assume that we're going to make him say Herlock Sholmes. I wonder if we'll have to get him to the courtroom. And then he'll do it like great deduction in here. That'd be really cool, actually. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. Unusually light fog. A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You can see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much further, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've heard that London is famous for its fog, but in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. Psst, how quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed. The other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Susato-san, I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Just curious, what do we even have right now? Oh, here's the picture of Monsieur Lecor, Emile for Galbaro, Canterbury Yearnings. Can we actually see what these are? Or no? Be interesting if like the books that he had rented weren't here or something like that. Though then that would beg the question of why he lied. But I'm just kind of curious about this stuff. I mean, that's a bit of a... Oh, really? That's it? There's not really a lot going on here, is there? Like, no names. Although it's pretty blunt, don't you think? Actually, yeah, like the tip is broken off. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo, just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Sato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged on the victim, do you? Oh dear. I do hope not. It sounds terribly painful. Alright, stab one to the back. Roly Beat. Good name. Victim remains unconscious. Her name was given from her effects. Single stab with a large knife. Wait, whoa. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following night. That's not true. He wasn't seen. It was Sherlock. Or, sorry, Herlock that brought them there. Hold it! How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend. Because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Ah, yes. Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday. Oh, right, there's a police... There's a police and his wife or something? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will of course call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Alright, out of the blue, they were stabbed and dropped to the pavement. From behind, you said? That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. As you say, this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition? Comatose, no less. I'm afraid so, my lord. She's being treated at Bart's. I was hoping that she'd come around before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Ugh. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Mr. Natsume's belongings? Think you'll find us all there in the photographic print of the crime scene? Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could have easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Is that possible? 2 shillings tendered. That's pretty expensive. At $4.45. There's been a number of old books he just bought. Hold it! The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I had to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Oh, this would probably be a good clue, I bet. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is in this place here, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Brow Road and Merchant Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Brow Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Huh. Okay. Which side of the street did she die on? Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being the bookshop's location, the bookshop's name, and the bookshop's stock. I mean, it's the location, right? What's the name of it again? Hold on, what is it? It's Bourbon Books. Your books. Ah, it's the name. The name's the most important bit. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe. Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes, it could be a very important clue. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes. Sorry, I'm texting someone real quick. Just for responding. I think we all know how this is going to go. Alright. He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a secondhand bookshop he apparently patronizes. Alright, I'm going to save. Because we know that we can now contradict it. But I also want to press on everything else, just in case it updates anything else at all. Because there's also the matter of the fact that he's, like, specifically not mentioning Herlock. You asked for the help of the famous detective Herlock Sholmes to locate the defendant, I believe. Stuff and nonsense. Sorry. That jack in office, that busybody, just comes and sticks his oar in whether we ask him or not. But according to what I have here, Mr. Sholmes was shown to the scene by Scotland Yard detectives. Well, that was nothing to do with me. The lads at the scene must have done it, without my permission. I tell them time again. time and again. Whenever something happens, send word to headquarters. Then follow your blooming instructions. I see. If that meddler gets his hand on any details, we'll all be reading in the March magazine next month. You can bet your last farthing that I'll be in there too. Stripped of all my hard work on the case. Yes, Mr. Sholmes. No, Mr. Sholmes. Aren't you clever, Mr. Sholmes? That's all the thanks I'll be getting. Inspector, if the man is proving detrimental to the Yard's activities, perhaps I should step in and deal with him? Yeah. It appears Inspector Gregson is lost for words. Yes, the Reaper's words carry a lot of weight, obviously. Anyway, the point is this. That little Japanese bloke's already admitted it. He admitted those books all over the pavement at the scene with the ones he bought that day. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you're unable to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed. Yes, they're sure to find him guilty. So one way or another, have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony. Alright, well, we know exactly how to do that. Here it is. I will say that, like, despite the shifty eyes and all that business and, you know, his general, like, I'm worried, I'm only a student and I'm not a real lawyer and etc., that, like, it feels like Naruhodo has, like, a little bit more confidence, maybe, like, a bit more gumption than Phoenix does. As weird as it is, considering Phoenix actually is an attorney.
Objection.
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, sunshine? A busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume. Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, Do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, such a small place, I think the accused would have known about it. But in fact, that is the bookshop from which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection.
Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here, if that may be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would have almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may well very turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true? My, that depends on where this other bookshop is. But I do declare that may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It could absolutely be right. Could be right. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Meersham Street, going east. Okay, so he could have come back a different way. And there you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh. Wait, when did he get another bottle of wine? My learned Nipponese friend is obviously trained to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus! Oh my god. Like, this... So many screenshots. Von Ziek's is amazing. You put that glass down, or I'll put it down for you. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. That's not true. He could have gone the other way. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Well, that's not true. He bought the books at 45, right? 5:45? Is it 15 minutes away like that? Oh, I say, enough of this. Beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but will you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Nastume is guilty. She's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. The claim was so sexually hung must have blasted the location of the incident on his way home from Your Books, but... I mean, he didn't have to, right? Like, there's a whole other street to take. Like, he could just as easily gone around this way. Like, it's slightly out of the way, but I mean, honestly, if I did this, like walked out this way, then walked up this way, then walked this way, went to the bookstore, I would continue just to do the full lap, because that's the way I like to work. And if I went this way, then I'd walk around this way. You know? Like, that's just how I would do. I mean, there's a whole other street. Can't we raise an objection about that? The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from Your Books to his lodgings, Mr. Nastume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked. Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. But, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Nastume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time wandering outside aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. So he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this. Honestly, that's not the path that I thought he was going to take. Because the prosecution could have easily, like, just pointed out the fact that Natsume's testimony itself, that he said that he, like, was approaching her from behind. So we don't waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord von Zieks, wholeheartedly in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean? We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Oh, am I about to lose the entire trial? Or do I get to do the jury cross-contamination? Whatchamacallit? Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty! 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 Guilty!
Damn. It would appear the jury's lenient unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. How to tip the balance of those scales the other way. How to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of a quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. Not too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper's uncle's refusal to throw in his galley. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you determine the defendant to be guilty. It's interesting to me that they haven't, like, slapped me on the wrist yet. Like, you know how it gave the health bar thing and then gave us the option to object or to leave it. So I guess to leave it was the option to get us slapped. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why it could only have been the victim? The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on the way back from the bookshop. Not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? We've got work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop, that. But bourbon chicks? No, not worth a visit. That juror should not be allowed to. With only minor exceptions, the reason for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Renosuke. You can do it. Oh yeah, we can. Get that sword out. For pity's sake. Little Nipponese already admitted himself. Let's see. I mean, he didn't. If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why can only have been the victim? Attacked from behind. Collapsed before his eyes. Can we pit the women against each other? Also, this dude not carrying. I mean, these two aren't paying attention at all. Can I just pit them against themselves? Let's try this. Those two statements clearly contradict each other. No, they apparently don't. Sorry, but if foreman of the jury had to object, that's complete nonsense. What? Banker, don't forget. An educated man. There's no contradictions as far as I can see. Quite so, Mr. Foreman. I will not permit a whimsical attack against the good members of the jury council. There was nothing whimsical about it. It's very important to listen carefully to every juror, Mr. Naruhodo. Then you can decide whether the contradictions really lie, if there are any. I mean, I get this dude really isn't doing anything. He doesn't care, and he's got work to be doing. Dude, this is hard, this one. Oh, but we can press though, can't we? I probably should have done that, huh? Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, that's right. Oh, wait, maybe this is the end. Not him, but the woman. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. It was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry. Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Well, you know, water under the bridge. Well, there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Ah, thank goodness. Alright. Maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history. Oh dear. What's become of Mr. First now? Sure, he'll show up. You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the stubby mustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madame, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he missed the stabbing, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly. Claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's as lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? I can tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion's obvious. No one else could have possibly have committed this awful crime. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you're too kind, my lord. That went well for her.
Hold it!
But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Nastume could have taken back from your books. Oh, yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. Is it? Just 2 shillings. Pavement of Bry Road, east side. There's really nothing much here, is there? And we didn't see anything else with this. And then this. There's really nothing here, is there? Like, I mean, besides the fact of how large her ear is. Nothing for people, right? And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold. So the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is they went home along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I have given a lot of thought, you know? I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why I might have gone the Calabash Roadway, it'd be different. Be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one. Alright, I'm guessing that she's going to be our in. Because we know this lad. What is the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Gerdeb, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume's room. The master's wife? Where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand. Keeping up that charade. Oh, this is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean. Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone till the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodgings in your master's house, doesn't he? Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now. And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh my goodness me, yes! He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks. Don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've never heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh, sorry, I've heard them. Oh dear. Poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm. Nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She said enough damning things already. Okay, so maybe not.
Hold it!
A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too. So is my family's. Like so you wouldn't understand. But a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat. Neither do wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what he's doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They have to cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk, is it? So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? Ooh, here we go. That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just around the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence. That's right. Meersham Street it was. Well, there's our reason for him to take the long way round. Meersham Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo. There are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can we just get this business over with now? Please, sir. It's important. Fine. I'll do it then.
Hold it!
Sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what? No. No, what I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old bookshops they have, the old books in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of tea. It's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your book on the day in question? Well, I was picking up books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. He's wearing green. Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh, yes, no mistake there. Remember it well. Not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on ice and donked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. But I thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road. That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry. Extremely sick. No, I'm quite all right now. It sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. I agree. It's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something. We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly. Yes, you're right. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll put them mercilessly against each other. Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other. She's so devious. Alright, so now we have ammunition. Meersham Street, dawn to dust. Wait, no, fuck me. Oh, sorry, I pressed the Y button because I'm a dumbass. Alright, fine. Take my hit. Okay, please. Let me choose the right one this time. Okay. So this with this.
Objection.
And then the woman against the old man. At odds, counsel, explain yourself. Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
Hey, whoa, I just want to get this done and dusted.
Well, juror number 3. Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on a map of our local area. On the day in question, Mr. Nastume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were books being carried out on Meersham Street, making it impossible. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meersham Street and down Briar Road. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? Must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way.
So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have.
Oh, I suppose that must be right, eh?
Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, but we see now that he had no choice.
Yes.
My lord, my judge, sir, if I may.
Yes.
I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir?
Eh, who? Me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds, at least. It strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it'll prompt the other member of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. Oh, they'll be asking themselves if the current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Nastume, we might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Ziek is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please.
Summonation. We can just combine that word. This against the woman.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning.
A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel?
Well, juror number 2. Juror number 6. Whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. Not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat, who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are well aware of this. The poor young woman who's stabbed, obviously.
Objection.
Can we really be sure of that, madame? Whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my. My goodness, you mean... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to
are hard of hearing Jerry number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that.
My goodness me.
Sorry, you need a pee. And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road.
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Nastume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6,
it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings.
And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
Oh my!
You idiot old man! If you had been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago.
Billy, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat?
What do you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the street these days? It's a crime to slip over on ice. It's a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it?
My lord, I do hope I won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume.
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you. I would too. What? This is a crime to change your mind, is it? Well... Well, the summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4, so the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray, forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zieks.
It seems I must retract my earlier remark.
What do you mean?
I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed. Stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you excavated, sir. That's right. It took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance the 2 yards represents?
Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all.
In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Okay, now he's fucking reaching. That lady is not vaulting. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Yeah, me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no.
What?
And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Ugh, I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have hoped to pass them anyway. Just turn any gentlefolk back the way they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Oh, is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsui walked down Briar Road.
Ugh, crushed in a single sentence.
And, old man.
Old man? You can talk?
You say that at around 5 o'clock on the day in question you slipped and fell on Calabash Road? Pray, Was there a suspicious-looking Nepalese behind you at the time? I can't say as I remember.
You don't remember?
How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Order! Order! Lord von Ziek, explain yourself. My lord. If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world do you not proffer it during the summation examination? I want to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they've been reached, I fear. Oh, the capes come off? So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
What are you talking about?
My lord! The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses.
Its next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember, one of them being Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witnesses. Alright. No matter who Von Ziek brings to the stand as witnesses, no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Oh, look at you.
Witnesses, please state your name and occupations for the court.
Constable Rolly beat, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir. And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife.
Aw, she's adorable.
Though they look related. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired.
Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world.
Oh, really? Should have heard that before, actually.
Indeed. Apart from rare days off, our gallant officers charge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check the meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean, and lighting and extinguishing our street lamps.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago.
But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London, Bobby is a man of honor.
And a man of slumber.
On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Constable Rolly Beat, sir! Nothing to report on the streets, sir! What a great witness he's going to be.
Very good. Let us hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident?
Yes, sir! It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We went straight over, of course, then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day.
Well, it's extremely compelling testimony, I must say.
But it's not the husband saying it, though. Earlier, Gregson said that, like, you know, the word of the policeman is, like, the very important thing. But it's his wife saying it. Maybe we can somehow use this to our advantage. Oh, dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Knott's at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternate course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed.
It's death, Neil, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate bechancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go for the evening with my man. Oh, I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that? Sorry, I had to yawn.
My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less, so you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure.
Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Man, this dude needs Mr. First. His hat's all kind of screwed up.
Hold it!
No time to change it to work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Miss Pete? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strappy young men only. Women and children in elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children in the elderly can't do the job, can't you? Oh, I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. Oh, it suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize when I see you in plain clothes.
Oh, she doesn't have a good memory then, does she?
Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You're going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest. I had to spend the whole day on my feet. But policing's my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. Has the noble founding principles of the force written on it. As a reminder to all of us policemen on our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without grumble. Because I know that the blood in my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. And Mrs. Pete puts up with a lot being married to a bobbin like me. I want to show my dear hive how much I care. Oh, Pot. Oh, Rolly. Oh, what a charming couple. The young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps.
And then, kindly describe what happened next.
Anyway, 2 silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. 2 silhouettes? That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Brow Road in the opposite direction. The opposite direction? That's rather plump figure followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Nastume. Yes, unfortunately it does.
And you're certain that at the time there was nobody else nearby?
Oh, yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Brow Road, you see. There's nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? Huh? Yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. But Brow Road is dead straight. You could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street line as well. I don't see any other pedestrians.
Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you just said?
Yes, sir. As a corporal who spends all his day every day keeping watch on the streets, I'd swear to it, sir. And she is reacting. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. They're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run. Oh, that didn't stop Mr. Nastume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly.
Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
I mean, did he run by them? Because he would have, right? All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed.
Hold it!
Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then we got closer, we realized what it was. Get me, darling. Mom. Oh, yes, that's right. It was some old books.
I see. Old books.
Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement.
Indeed. As clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten... Oh, sorry, it's Patricia. That rotten Japanese man did what he did when he did the deed. Sorry, did that when he did the deed. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him. It was the man in the dock, without question, sir. The mustached, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub nose, everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right. He looked down at that poor, defenseless woman with those terrifyingly intense eyes. And then suddenly threw his book across on the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here.
May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue.
Yes, sir.
Hold it!
What was your husband... Oh, sorry. Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I'm the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, that's right. I asked Miss Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But I've always known that truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance.
That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat, so I told Patricia the way the police box for the beat the incident fell under, so she could go, report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know?
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of 2 model citizens.
Oh, please. You're making us blush, isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Let's move on, shall we? It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolling and I both saw him as clear as day. But it was foggy. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough. My husband already told you that the fog was only light. Didn't he? Ah. Yes, and what of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is, it is. Well, it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your arm. Yes, all right, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband around? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure. And certain, there's a little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? Yes. It was the accused, and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, cat-like eyes, top mouth, snub nose. Unmistakable, sir. As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they saw. Mr. Natsume ran away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no. What do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here. What are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within the testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? The statements about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of the testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Why do I always seem to be so up against it? Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yeah, yes, of course. What is it? I want to guess how much she's going to ask us. Since she's so love-suck and like lovey-dovey, my guess is that she's going to ask us if we are married to Susato. Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've been told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony, is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What? No, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is.
That will do, Miss Beat.
No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down.
Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat. Might that appease you?
Hiya. Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? This poor Bobby. Alright, let's... Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. She just already fucked up. She said 4 books he dropped? Wrong. Wrong. 3 books, 1. And 2, I bet you she's not even gonna get it right. Wait, where is... Wow, you know what?
But he also
No, be quiet. Hold on, I need... Is it here?
mimicked him on
Wrong.
There it is. Wrong. Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question. After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I am a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. Oh, he works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene? I'd be happy to. Now, you're listening. There was the picture of Monsieur somebody or other, and what's it yearnings. Then there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the thingamy something. You see? Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory. Well, they were all along those lines, I'm quite sure. There were indeed books found at the scene of the titles. Wow, why can't I speak tonight? There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it. Oh, what did I tell you? So I think it's very much the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling? Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to. Wow, he got fucking mad. Yeah, holy shit. Seriously. Terrifying. Yes, she really is. I don't know, that dude's face when he was holding the gun there got, like, completely different than what he's been up to before. Okay, we've seen this already. And now we know exactly what to do. I just wanted to press to get the extra info. Well, he's a Bobby. He's a police officer. So they just, like, let him do it, I guess.
Objection.
Well, this... I don't know. Maybe he hid it in his massive freaking scarf. Also, this is super old Britain. So maybe they had different laws before they needed a license for everything. So you're saying there were 4 books? That's right. I remember all of them. The picture, monster, somebody, what's it, yearnings, a meal for someone, and the thingy yummy something. I'm sorry, Miss Beat. But there's a fundamental flaw in that statement as yours. Oh no, what flaw? Simply that at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books. Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from the evidence as well, there are only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there. I swear it. I saw them. No, madame. I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh, no. No, 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 no! No! Oh, shut up, Ziek. Oh, sorry, I've had the mouse on the screen. Why do I not have this just like ready to go? You know, like why don't I just have that ready for these things? That it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that those witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He seems right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife, and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Cracking open a cold one with Van Ziek's. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found. But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say? Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand. The loin's pride? Oh, lion's pride. Oops, read that wrong real quick. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. Order. There, you see? You see? Look at that. Look, look, look. Yes. It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patrice is always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Miss Beat, the titles once again, if you please. Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other? The picture of Monsieur Lecour. I don't know how to pronounce that, so sorry. What's it, Yearnings? Canterbury Yearnings. A meal for someone. A meal for Gaburo. Gaburo? As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown as this photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book. I wonder, what became of that 4th book? Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You will submit that in the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, Consul. My pleasure, my lord. Fourth book, huh?
The prosecution rests.
Is it just me, or does that book look kind of fucked up? Like on the edge? Like it's burnt. Well, I wonder if that's going to relate to the burning that we saw before. Oh yeah, it is very burnt. Did she get this from Mr. Garibald's house? Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state. Especially not the lighter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book. Recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me?
Well, one of our jurors probably knows about that. The Lion's Pride.
Yeah, this is Mr. Garibald's book, isn't it? Let me see. The book entitled Lion's Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all. So it wouldn't be something I've heard... Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride. That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before. And very recently, too. It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo.
I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes. Futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile. I walked right into this, didn't I? You see? Everything we said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
So perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions, should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty. Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Yunosuke. Think. What do you do now? I think we should wait and see, actually, this time. Because there's nothing to object to. He's right. But the book and the burntness of it, and the fact that one of the jurors is the maid, big air quotes here, the maid, makes me think that we can get something out of that. So we just need to let it go. I should just keep quiet now and see what happens.
Well, it appears the defense has no objection at this juncture, in which case...
Mr. Naruhodo, was I not clear? The case for the defense is in great danger. Yes, I realize that. Which is why I decided to let the sweat drip from my trembling brow in silence. You're so right, I'm sorry. If I don't say anything now, it'll be all over. Won't end well for us.
Hold it!
Oh, okay. No, wait, the defense!
The defense will have to wait. Because that sapless hesitation cannot go unpunished.
Oh, okay. Well, my health is low. Like it was at 5 and now it's at 3. We're just gonna reload and object now. Because apparently, that's what I'm supposed to do. But what the hell am I objecting to? I'm not done yet.
No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There's no more room for debate.
Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Von Zieks. It seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little eastern isle must be a lawless hole indeed.
He's so fucking savage. It's great.
For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
Oh. I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer.
So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So, the court will hear you, madame.
Go ahead, Mr. Sato. Please.
Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it. So Sato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste.
The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case has hitherto been overlooked.
Okay, what could we possibly be doing here? Susato said that it's new evidence, which would imply probably this bullshit right here. This recently burnt book, which is exceedingly bizarre. Is it the same text as we had before? I keep looking at this book. Every time I can't believe how badly burnt it is. And I can't believe what a terrible waste it is. The more I look at the damage, the more I'm sure it must have happened very recently too. A book damaged by fire very recently. And then we have this. She's holding it. Do you think... Well, so there was a fire in the other building. And they burnt a book. And it went missing. Do you think they threw it outside? And then, like, it hit her or something? Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into the case. It specifically shows the victim's hand. What about her hand? Is that important? $2 shillings. She's unconscious. No other signs of injury. And we have the fact that the knife is blunt as well, which is odd. I guess the book, it's the only new piece of evidence, so... The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book, found in the victim's hand.
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you will know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution in this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear?
Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you're right. You might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals?
This shit.
Got it!
Got it! I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt so crisp!
So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend?
Oh.
Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there's nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does the shard book hide?
A charred book. There is just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage the sorry tome has suffered?
I can ascertain its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon?
That we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping her hand as she fell to the floor after. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has a very credible answer, or has very credible answers.
Good gracious, how can you possibly? Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Well, Miss Gerda is, but also this guy.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Gerda.
The landlords?
And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. But of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Miss Gerda herself. Oh my goodness me! I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Gerda's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then. How about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Gerda's house? I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlord, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Gerda's house.
Good lord! What sort of incidents, Counsel?
A fire, my lord.
Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. Bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it, I lost my favourite. Book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. By Jove! The very same title that the subject of this debate.
Oh, dear me.
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it'd be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime.
Perhaps it would make much more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Gerdeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Gerdeb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly? Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir.
And all my favourite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, backed up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books incoming 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident. There's no report of the Gerdeb's window pane being broken.
That's quite true. We also saw no signs of broken glass when we visited the Gerdeb household. But it is not conceivable that the window was open at the time and...
Not even remotely. Let's not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of the winter. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, Counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Gerdeb's wife?
I believe it's a possibility, my lord.
That's quite enough.
Is it the maid, quote unquote, who's saying this? Yep. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. Call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tips set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as maid for appearance's sake. How could you? Nothing to do with this beastly case, nor any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud, simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. Utterly unforgivable.
Too right.
Here we go.
How long have we sat here now, listening to this Nipponese spouting off its fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who possibly could have stabbed the victim is a little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away from the scene too.
I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes! What did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Sorry. What's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the court are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Von Zieks? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage.
No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been...
If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time.
What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time.
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Mr. Sato, have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting. Of course. The defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance.
My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve?
I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. There's no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined.
To be continued.
But perfect timing, actually. We're at 2 hours. And it is 10 o'clock for me, so this works out well in the fact that I would like to go to sleep now. So, the Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro will continue next time. Also, update as far as what oh no, I pressed the B button. I pressed the B button. I don't want to see this yet. Not that there's like a ton here, but okay, we'll find out what he says next time. Wait, no, don't save. Back to title. Don't save. It will. Okay, there we go. Oh look, we're in the court again. There was this neat thing. I don't know if you were here at the very start of the stream, but on the title screen when we booted up the game, we were like in Natsume's cell, or not in, but like at that scene, which was pretty cool. I thought that like the background changes depending on where you are and like your current game that you're continuing through and stuff. It's really neat. Because now we're back in the courtroom because we're in the courtroom again. Look at that. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for tonight's stream. Tomorrow is Friday, and yesterday I mentioned that I didn't know if I would be streaming or not because I wasn't sure about my plans with my brother for the weekend. He is going to be coming up Saturday morning, which means that I have Friday night free. So I do plan on playing some video games tomorrow. Probably Splatoon, because there's a Splatfest going on where the teams are Zelda. So like Wisdom, Power, and Courage are the 3 teams. So I haven't chosen one yet. I don't know which one I want to be. So probably whichever one has a good color. Probably either Big Man or Shiver is my guess. But we'll see. So, you know, we'll do something like that tomorrow. I do have one other exciting thing kind of working in the wings that I don't know when exactly I will start it, but I will start it at some point is my my plan. And well, I mean, you can probably tell by that noise, can't you? Let me see if I can do this easily or so. Yeah, there we go. You might this may perhaps look familiar. But you can see here that I've got a certain game ready to go over here on the old PS2, as it were. So, but not yet. Not yet is the only thing there, though. We have other games to get through before we can get there, like Ace Attorney and Yakuza 5. I did play the other Fatal Frame game like on the weekends and such, but as I noted, my brother's going to be here this weekend, so I'm most likely not going to have like long long amounts of time like I did with the other game. The other thing regarding Fatal Frame, the Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, is I found out that apparently there are 2 endings. That like you get one ending by beating on normal mode, and then you get like the real ending with like some additional stuff in it or something like that by beating on hard. So I kind of want to play through it again. The only trick is that I haven't decided if I want to play through it like on stream or not, I guess. Because I don't know if that will be interesting to everyone to like see the same game again. Because as far as I know, like the second run through on a harder difficulty makes the ghosts more aggressive and possibly unlocks some other ghosts that you didn't get to see during the first bit. So there might be like some new stuff, but not a ton. And so I just don't know if it's something that people want to see, because it's not like horror game wise, right? Like I assume that some people like to watch horror games because they want to see people be like scared and such. And as you may recall from my stream of Fatal Frame, it wasn't particularly scary, honestly. There were a couple good parts, but for the most part, it was just laughing at ghosts and talking about how to selfie and maybe woo and date them. Who knows? So again, I haven't decided if I want to stream a full playthrough of it again, or like just get myself up to the final section and then maybe stream the ending of it or something like that. But I do kind of intend to try to finish Mask of the Lunar Eclipse and like see the second ending for myself, at least before starting in on the other Fatal Frame. So yeah. So not yet, just I suppose consider that a teaser for things to come, that I very likely will play the first Fatal Frame game at some point in the future. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go now. So thanks for hanging out and thanks for watching. Hope you all have a good rest of your day, rest of your night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And I'll see you tomorrow for some video games. Probably Splatoon. But if I randomly get the hankering for something else, then, maybe something else. But probably very likely Splatoon. So, bye for now.